Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Disc 1, one of our S-Rank podcasts. Sans Neko, I suppose. And if you can't tell by the cover art, which I've already shown my two guests, we are going to be discussing the Devil May Cry series, particularly Devil May Cry 5, which is due out sometime this week. On Friday, honestly, but you know. Joining me tonight are
SNES Master Ki
and
I'm Dari.
And we love Dari. So, as I said, we are doing this without Neko because he has not pre-ordered the game and he has some very controversial opinions about the series.
Indeed he does.
Which I honestly almost wanted to bring him in there just because of those, but then I realized that he might think that we were making fun of him because all three of us are getting the game, but he's not. So, you know, just...
You make fun of him anyway.
Yeah. So, we're gonna start things off with a retrospective on the rest of the series because both Dari and I have recently played through the whole thing. I played the 2013 reboot. Dari has not had a chance to yet, but...
And I have played every game close to their release.
Yes, so he's the old guard on this one.
And I've been good about not bringing this up constantly, but since it's a retrospective, I have to ask, how was that tank control in Devil May Cry 1?
About as good as the original jump button placement.
So there wasn't... So you're saying the original jump button placement was your hallucination?
I don't know, maybe. But, yeah, so having said that, let's get started with the original Devil May Cry. The first modern character action game.
Yes, because...
Action.
I am not going to call the genre that.
You're not going to call it a character action game?
It's a stylish.
No.
Oh, stylish action game, right. Why is character action game so preferable for you? I'm just curious about that.
I mean, it doesn't... There's nothing really special. That's just the two most common I've heard are character action and stylish action, and character action is not pretentious. It is not, like, bragging about a feature that the badly designed games in the genre don't have. A bad character action game can still be accurately described as one.
Okay, fair enough, but I mean, don't all action games have characters in them?
Well, that is a result of... Yeah, no one thought of a better name for it. If someone can think of a better name, I'm fine with it, but no one put the effort in.
I mean, what would you have called it? I mean, we've had discussions about things like Metroid-likes and exploratory platformers. What would you have called the genre if you had been able to call the shots?
Let's see.
Because I might have just called them Bayo May Cries.
Oh, that would have been pretty confusing for the 9 years until Bayonetta came out.
Well, they call them Metroidvanias, and how long did it take for... You know, how much of a time span was there between Metroid and Symphony of the Night?
Yeah, it's because, like, those... No one paid attention to any games like that except Metroid and Castlevania until the 6th or 7th gen. I mean, character action games... The best I can think of off the top of my head is melee action games.
Okay, fair enough, even though most of them do give you a meager projectile attack, but I see your point there.
Yeah, you almost always have a projectile attack, but it's always either weak or limited.
Right. Dari, same question. What would you have called the genre if you had been calling the shots?
I don't really like character action because I feel like that's too broad. I mean, I understand it for games that are not like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta call it character action.
What about God of War? Isn't that in that subgenre?
Yes. And you can
Yeah. No, sorry. Continue.
And you can argue that God of War 2018 there that just brings up fights about if that would it's like the what was I gonna say? Yeah, it's like there's an like kind of a subgenre in it that has combat like the Souls games, and God of War 2018 is somewhere between the two. But yeah, the original ones are definitely character action games. I mean, that was like God of War was alongside Devil May Cry 3, one of the like first examples of a fully evolved one.
Fair enough.
I feel like this is more a Japanese name, but I almost want to call them character gore games, because most of the games in this genre are pretty gory and violent.
I can see your point there. I mean, there aren't
Gore
very
action
many.
games, maybe.
Okay, I see your
action
point
games,
there.
maybe.
I mean, there are games in it that aren't like that, though.
Well, yeah, like
True,
Transformers
but-
Devastation, right?
Yeah, and Wonderful 101. Even Beautiful Joe is kind of a 2D character action game.
Oh no, because that doesn't fit Wonderful 101. I was going to say violent action.
I mean,
game,
Wonderful
that's not
101 is violent. I mean, violent action game seems too broad. I mean, action kind of implies there will be some kind of violence.
In all fairness, though, it isn't any worse than character action game. I mean, you know, you are going to be playing as a character in an action game. At least I can't think of any cases where you didn't.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a great name, but this all goes back to the 4th generation when everything that wasn't a turn-based RPG was called action adventure.
Or an action
God,
RPG.
yeah.
If it had, like,
Yeah.
leveling up and shit. I would have called them 3D-em-ups.
exactly. It's not exactly a beat 'em up style game every single time though.
Oh, it's like
Oh.
it's like an evolution of beat 'em up style games. It's like beat 'em ups almost died. They didn't even have a hardcore following like shmups did. They were until we got full retro revivals in the 7th generation. They were essentially dead and kind of evolved into character action games.
Or at least they evolved as much as they possibly could have. But I guess I've sort of gotten off topic here. The original Devil May Cry. Daria and I played it for the first time recently, and KI recently replayed it, as I recall.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've already sort of made my thoughts on the game clear in other mediums, but I'll just repeat myself here. I liken the original Devil May Cry to the original Super Mario Brothers. It is an important game to... Both are important games to their respective genres, but they aged like milk under a radiator. You're better off just skipping to the third one.
And I will say I agree it's like Super Mario Brothers, but like Super Mario Brothers compared to other genre-defining games in that era, I mean, we all know another game that came out around the same time as Devil May Cry, Grand Theft Auto 3. Compared to that, it has aged like Super Mario World.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that comparatively, I think that the best example of a genre codifier that holds up to this day is Street Fighter 2, and I will fight anyone on that.
I mean, that was also technically a sequel.
Well, yeah, but it codified the genre, though, is what I'm saying. Every single other fighting game that came out, like, up until Virtua Fighter was essentially a rip-off of Street Fighter 2. To some
Yeah,
extent.
Although, I mean, the version people play, though, is, like, the most commonly played versions are the 3rd or 5th revision.
That's a good point, but I still think that the original World Warrior game has some kind of a pull that DMC1 and Super Mario Brothers 1 just can't really compare to.
In that series, though, I would think in the genre of character acting games that Devil May Cry is almost the same. Devil May Cry almost is the same oomph that Street Fighter does.
Well, no, I agree with that. I'm just saying that all three of those games essentially inspired the majority of what came after. I don't think anyone could argue that Devil May Cry, Super Mario Bros. 1, and Street Fighter 2 all did not have an uncomparable impact on their respective genres.
You have not spent enough time around anti-Nintendo trolls.
Okay, what do they... I know that we're going off topic here, but what do they say is the ultimate platformer?
Pitfall or possibly Pac-Land.
Pac-Man.
Wow.
Like, I could have given them Pitfall. I could have given them that. It wouldn't have been right, but at least I'd say that before Super Mario Bros. Came out, Pitfall probably was the most important platformer out there. Don't hate me for that, K.I. But Pac-Land? Pac-Land is garbage.
Yeah, they don't specifically say... I don't know if they specifically say it's good. They'll say, like, oh, Super Mario Brothers didn't influence anything. It was just a rip-off of Pac-Land.
How is it a rip-off of Pac-Land? Wasn't every stage in Pac-Land just an auto-scrolling nightmare?
I don't think it auto-scrolled. I'm pretty sure that was just the Smash Brothers stage.
Yeah, maybe I'm just thinking of that and the fact that there was, like, this really annoying time limit and the fact that enemy patterns just sort of flew at you out of nowhere.
Yeah, I've barely played Pac-Man, but yeah, it's not... I mean, even ignoring Super Mario Brothers, Pitfall and the original Donkey Kong are way better than it.
I can't really call Donkey Kong... I know that a lot of people put that in that category, but I guess the argument is that Super Mario Brothers impacted the side-scrolling platformer. I mean, that essentially became the entire genre after the fact, sure, but Donkey Kong would not fit into the side-scrolling genre, whereas I'd say Pitfall would.
Oh yeah, so I was saying it's like it's a rare subgenre of platformers that most single-screen games became pretty rare in general, except maybe for puzzle games after Super Mario Brothers came out, but we probably should get back to Devil May Cry, or
That's
at least
true.
character action games.
That's true. I'm sorry that I went off topic there.
That's funny.
Devil May Cry 1, I tried it years back without KI's tutelage. I didn't like it, but I had played it after playing both the demo for Devil May Cry 4 and the original Bayonetta. So at that point, I was pretty spoiled. It didn't help that I didn't realize the wall that was essentially yellow orbs, which that was a terrible design decision. I think we can all agree on that one.
Yeah.
It was.
Capcom had a lot of weird, like... God, I don't want to call them renaissances, because that just doesn't... But they had, like, these ebbs and flows, didn't they? In terms of, like, being creative?
Let's see, you said Capcom did?
Yeah, Capcom did.
Let's see, I would say like 6th generation was one of their strongest. Like, if I was going to pick a generation to say Capcom could, like, might have actually had better output than Nintendo, it'd probably be that. But, yeah, they have... It's like what they invent new genres, but they also make direct sequels to them, which I've never really saw any problem with that, but people got upset about that, and hopefully they'll appreciate what they have this time with their renaissance.
I mean, what I mean by ebbs and flows is that... Let's see here now. They started off... Their first real video game was Vulgus, and they didn't really make any progress from there. But then came... I guess Ghouls and Ghosts would have been their first real big hit.
Oh, Ghosts and Goblins.
Ghosts and Goblins, you're right. Sorry, I always prefer calling them Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah, which is weird because then they went back to Ghosts and Goblins, and I'm just like, oh, come on, really, guys?
The Ghouls and Ghosts games are significantly better than the Ghosts and Goblins games.
I kind of liked Ultimate. Anyway, we're getting off topic again. So then there was a bit of an ebb there. Then came Mega Man, which essentially allowed them to establish themselves on consoles. Well, Mega Man 2, technically. Then they farmed that to death. You know, Final Fight, beat 'em ups. Then came Street Fighter 2, which was their first real big break into the mainstream. Then after that,
I'd say Mega Man was mainstream on NES.
Okay, I'll give you that, but I'm just saying that, like, compared to the phenomenon that was Street Fighter.
Oh, yeah, that was the first game they made that was like a generation-defining game.
Right. Then, after that, things sort of slowed down because they tried to milk that to death. Then came Resident Evil. And then you had a whole bunch of, like, wacky... They threw everything at the wall during the 6th generation, didn't they? You had Onimusha, you had Beautiful Joe, you had Okami, you had Devil May Cry, but you also had shit like Shadow of Rome, Beat Down Fists of Vengeance, Final Fight Streetwise.
The first two of those I didn't even know Capcom made.
Yeah. Well, Shadow of Rome was apparently... I'm probably getting the name of that wrong. Hold on, let me... I'm sorry that I'm again going on a weird tangent. But it was Shadow of Rome. Shadow of Rome was apparently the precursor to Dead Rising. And I've always just... Yeah, no, apparently same basic gameplay there.
I mean, what they basically do is at the start of a generation, they'll try to make... They'll have a lot of really new stuff, like in 6th gen near to start, they had Devil May Cry. They also had Ace Attorney, although that was only in Japan. In 7th gen, they had, or late 6th gen, they had Monster Hunter.
Right, and that didn't even really become a big deal here until the latest one, Monster Hunter World.
I think it was the thing. It just people was.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Dari? You kind of cut out for me there.
I liked it, but it was just kind of weird.
Well, no, it was a niche title out here.
It felt like a love it or hate it kind of thing.
But yeah, but I mean, it was like PSP, then the 3DS, Wii U, and then they decided to finally make another one on like actual home consoles, and fucking 10 million more than 10 million copies sold worldwide. Aren't they up to 11 million on the Platinum Titles site or something? Let me check.
Not sure.
11.9 million units. So, yeah. Anyway, getting back to... let's
see, well, getting back into... Dari, what is your view on the original Devil May Cry and, like, how much it holds up and what it's like to play today?
Today, it felt almost like a modern NES game in terms of difficulty for me, but then that's me, and I'm not your average gamer, it seems.
What do you mean by modern NES? Do you mean that it was like NES hard for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. So
okay,
it was
I guess
like...
you didn't hear that part.
Oh, sorry, what'd you say?
I said in terms of difficulty, but I guess you didn't hear that part.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, but, so what you're just saying is that it was like playing an NES game back during, like, the PS2 era for you, basically. Dari? Dari?
I'm more or less saying, like...
Oh, there he is.
How, people are saying, "Oh, well, this game is way too. This game is way too hard compared to games of the current generation." That's what I kind of mean when I say NES hard for this now. Compared to other games, this game is really. This game was really hard for me.
Okay,
but I got through it.
Yeah, I kind of have to step in there. You actually did really well in it.
You beat it in like just barely over as much time as I beat it.
Or like you beat Phantom on your first try. That was
which
like when the
I
game
didn't
was,
even do that.
Yeah, when the game was new, no one could do that. That was like the first choke point where you had to understand how to play this genre. No one did at the time.
I personally think that's probably beginning luck on my end, and also that not being my first character action game, I played God of War, so God of War probably helped me with that a little bit more than it probably should have.
Again, I had played both of the Bayonetta games when I actually finally went back and tried to beat the game, and I got my ass kicked by Phantom, like ridiculously. I got destroyed by him. I'm willing to admit that.
Yeah, I don't remember it exactly because it was like 17 years ago, but I know the first time I got to him, I had a lot of trouble, and I remember everyone said this at the time, after you played it for a bit, everything would just click, and then you'd be able, like, to win the first Phantom fight easily, and that was what happened for me. I just had to get used to the genre.
Right.
See, I still felt
like I said, but other than that, the game was... It was interesting. Like, I'm just gonna say I'm a story whore. I like following story in the game. The story in Devil May Cry 1 was just like haphazardly thrown together. Like, oh hey, there's this girl, you took her job, and you have to go to this random castle and fight all these people, and then you get double crossed by her just to have her almost die. What?
Okay, I'm sorry, this is a little breaking the fourth wall, but the subtitle accused you of saying the N-word. we have auto subtitles from Skype, and especially with Dari, they are not all that accurate.
The N-word, god damn it.
And especially with Gary.
Gary. Well, at least you know, it always, whenever I say his name, it comes across as Derry.
Yep. Well, I mean, you're trying to say it that time, but anyway, go ahead. Anyway, what were you saying, Dari?
I was saying that the story was haphazardly thrown together, but it made enough sense for me to enjoy it. Dante himself in Devil May Cry 1 just felt weird.
I mean, what you have to consider is, like, you know how I said this was a kind of a big evolution of beat-em-ups?
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to something like Final Fight, it had a way more elaborate story. They basically they were not making story a huge emphasis in it. And
true.
Yeah, like the cinemas were more to like just show off stuff and have it look cool.
I feel like that was more the thing in 3, making a big spectacle, but not so much in 1.
And 1, well, yeah, and 1 it was like for the time, because having bosses the size of like Griffin or Mundus was a big deal at the time, because 5th gen games had a lot of trouble with giant 3D enemies.
But they didn't have a problem with giant 3D ships, because apparently they had a lot of those back in that gen, and they loved showing off giant enemy ships for some reason. Like almost every other game in that generation had some type of ship in it, and Devil May Cry 1 definitely didn't disappoint.
Oh yeah,
3 chapters were on that ship.
Oh yeah, that's because the ships are level settings. They don't have to move the same way a character does.
That's true.
So
Well, yeah, it's like having a big background, basically.
Yeah, and the backgrounds were huge in comparison to most beat 'em ups or anything for that genre. So I guess that was something else as well.
yeah, because that was another thing 5th gen games couldn't do. Having several enemies on screen at once, especially ones that are doing more than pre-programmed motion, was almost impossible for 5th gen games to do.
But yeah. Anyway, back to Ki. What are your thoughts on the game? I mean, you've been with it way longer than either of us.
I mean, like I said in the article I wrote, it is clearly not as good. It doesn't feel as great as it did in 2002. I mean, back then it was mind blowing. It felt like one of the best games Capcom had ever made. But I would say it is like the original Super Mario Brothers, which I think is still a solid game. I mean, it is clearly inferior to many of its sequels, but it's still fun to play, and it holds up better than something codifying a genre necessarily does in other cases.
I mean, I can't really think of many other cases of a game that had that much of an impact on a single genre, besides the three that I've already mentioned. I mean, can you think of at least one more?
Yes, and actually I mentioned this is a perfect example of me thinking it doesn't hold up, Grand Theft Auto 3.
Okay, you're right about that. Well, I mean, at least about the defining a genre part. I'm not going to argue. I have no...
We'll force you to stream it someday.
No. I'm not... I didn't even claim it was good. You're not allowed to do it if I'm not saying that it's... If I'm not openly disagreeing with your opinion, you're not allowed to force me to do anything.
So yeah, another one that I haven't played this, but just considering what I've heard with it being one character and so grind intensive, the original Dragon Quest.
Oh god, you're right.
And
Breath of Fire kind of goes with that too at some point. The original Breath of Fire.
Breath of Fire, though, it's not
The
just original. Yeah, it's not just original games in a series. It's original games or it doesn't even have to be original games like Street Fighter 2 and Grand Theft Auto 3. It's games that codified a genre.
To break it down for Dari.
Some of the later Breath of Fire did change the genre as well. They did different things.
Yeah, but they didn't have an
RPGs
impact. No, Dari. The problem is that they didn't have an impact on like pretty much every game in that genre.
Yeah, codifying a genre means that's like Super Mario Brothers, how it caused almost all platformers after it, or Doom and first-person shooters, or Street Fighter 2 and fighting games.
Right.
Okay.
How like the early ones were all just literally knockoffs of said game. And yes, Alex Kidd was a knockoff of Super Mario Brothers. Fight me on that one. It was a terrible knockoff, but it was a knockoff all the same. So is there anything else we want to say about Devil May Cry 1 before we move on to our next
It has the best line in gaming history. And the fact...
And it had pretty good music, too.
And just the fact that the controller actually vibrates while light is echoing is amazing.
Did they add that to the HD, or did it do that in the original?
Yes.
one?
I don't remember.
The original. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, that almost makes sense. I'll load up a save file on the original just to see.
Oh god.
Oh god.
But okay, so I guess we can move on to the next game. Devil May Cry 2. Okay, now that we've said that, let's move on. Well, that's what Capcom did in their recap. Why can't we do the same? Well, actually, we did more than Capcom did in their recap, now that I think about it.
Remember, Diesel Jeans.
Oh,
Yes,
God.
Diesel Jeans and Devil May Cry 2. I think the most interesting thing about it would be finding the version before Itsuno tried to salvage it.
I just want to know who was in charge of the game before him. That's the mystery that keeps me up all night.
I'm pretty sure they've changed their name by now.
No, but I mean, who was it that, like, I don't know, I saw some person joke around that it might have actually been Hideki Kamiya himself.
Wow.
I don't think that's actually the case, but could you imagine?
I am going to, in light of recent events, maybe it was Inafune.
That actually makes a little bit of sense. It's the sad part.
Well,
the
that would
funny part
explain
is,
the Diesel Jeans team up. I feel like that seems like something he'd do.
I think that's just an American tie-in at the last minute. Like, oh hey, let's throw in some random gene company that needs some money. Let's throw it in this game because that's going to get a lot of money.
Wait, was Diesel Jeans an American company? I've never heard of them.
Yeah, I've heard of them, and I can't wear, and I don't even wear jeans.
What specific subculture are they associated with then?
They're Italian, apparently.
They're Italian. Okay, fair enough then.
Yeah, they sell them here, and I mean, I just knew they were a jeans brand. I didn't know anything about like their history or what they represented.
Let me see.
Right.
Diesel Jeans. Oh my god, that's an autocomplete on there.
Of course.
Yeah.
Here we go. Diesel brand, Italy, fashion lines, advertising. Wikipedia doesn't even mention the crossover with Devil May Cry.
Of course you don't.
Well,
Capcom has people monitoring that page 24/7 to take down any mentions of it.
I'm still baffled at the fact that, okay, so no one likes Devil May Cry 2 to the extent where, and I've seen this happen in real time, people will claim, no matter what, that Devil May Cry, the reboot from 2013, is the worst Devil May Cry game. Worse than DMC2. And then they experience DMC2 again, and it's like repressed memories.
Yeah, it does like kind of scar you enough to repress it. I played it when it was new, and then I didn't play it again for over a decade, and then when I played it again, it was so much worse than I remembered. I think at the time it was like the genre was still new enough that like you couldn't get the full impact of it. You have to have played games like Devil May Cry 3 and Bayonetta to truly understand how horrible Devil May Cry 2 is.
But the weird part about it is that I came to it like several years later after the fact and had quite a few games under my... I had the first 2 Bayonettas under my belt at least. And the first Devil May Cry at that point, obviously. And I'm like, this is bad, but I'm laughing the entire time. It isn't like to the point where it's so bad it's good, but I'm laughing at the game is hilarious to me.
And I thought it'd be harder than Devil May Cry 1, and I was like, wait.
Why would you think that? That is like the one... That's the most known thing about Devil May Cry 2 is that it's too easy.
Well, no, I think... I can understand why Dari would think that he would have been less likely to beat Devil May Cry 2 instead of Devil May Cry 1. He might have thought that Devil May Cry 2 was making fun of him. Dari does not like being talked down to by video games.
I don't, but the other thing is, when most people say, especially in video games, oh, this game was too easy, it's usually the complete opposite for me. So I'm just like, I don't expect this to be easy, and when I play them, just like, I feel like I'm a kid playing, like...
Is this on easy mode?
Exactly.
But no, like, hard mode is easier.
No,
that still blows my mind.
No, yeah, because hard mode is mandatory new game plus. It legitimately is easier than normal mode because of that.
No, but here's the thing about it, though, is that it doesn't even feel like that to me. It doesn't feel like playing a game on easy mode. Like, there was only one game that I would reliably play on easy mode when I was a kid, and that was the Genesis version of Golden Axe. And that put up way more of a fight than Devil May Cry 2.
I mean, easy modes have gotten easier over the generations. I mean, easy mode now is essentially, like, sometimes they'll directly admit I just want to watch the story mode.
I love it.
Yeah,
when
and also they cut like whole parts of the game out from easy mode nowadays.
Oh no, that's what they used to do back in the old days. That's what they used to do.
Yeah, now they just make it so it's almost impossible to lose.
Yeah, so it's just really, really, really boring. Unless it's Cuphead, in which case, Cuphead. I love what they... It did my heart good to hear about what easy mode did to people in Cuphead. Easy mode only existed to teach you the ropes, but didn't give you the actual ending. You got 2/3 or you got 3/4 of the way through the game, and then they said, okay, fuck off and play all the stages on normal now. Which,
I feel like if they did that, Devil May Cry 2 might have been better for some people.
Yeah, I would have. Easy mode would have meant easier to get through. It's like no one wants to suffer through 31 levels of this shit. Say on easy mode, you only have to go through like 20.
I feel like if they had an easy mode Devil May Cry 2, what would change? 'Cause I feel like just that's like you used the guns for 90% of the game, and you didn't have to swing your sword at all. There wasn't barely any strategy.
Now the worst part about it is that swinging your sword was actually terrible.
Detrimental.
It was
How did it
awkward
get
and
so
clunky. If the enemies were actually able to hurt you, it would have made the game frustrating.
in easy
But
mode?
ironically, you found the sword, and the other sword was better. I'm just like, wow, this is much a better combo than the sword they give you in the beginning. Why?
In DMC2's easy mode, the characters would all just stand around saying, "Where's Dante?" or "Where's Lucia?"
And oh yeah, I had a revelation. I know what the original version of Devil May Cry 2 was like.
What was it
Okay.
like?
It had tank controls.
Well, it did have tanks in it.
It did.
Why did it
Yes.
have tanks in it?
Why did it have tanks that I
had-
could stand literally under the cannon of the tank and attack it? Nothing happened to me.
That's how I got an
Another-
S-rank combo in that game.
I did
Yeah.
too.
Their fighting style is they have so much damage, and they're like 5 in a row or something. Their fighting style is just to make you so bored with the tedium that you stop playing.
I thought that was the entire point of the game.
Yeah, but the tanks are really good at it. They're the true boss.
Oh god.
Next to the helicopter, that's the
God,
that's the super impossible hidden boss.
The helicopter. I remember reading some guy who was going through DMC2 again, and he'd been talking so much shit about, the reboot, and he was like, "Oh god, I repressed all of this. It's all coming back. Why?" And he's like, "The fucking helicopter," and I'm like,
Well, at least it was as bad as Neko saying that. Oh well, I can't kill a helicopter because I only used the sword, and I had to use the gun to beat it, and that made me so bad.
Yeah. Okay, I don't remember this exactly, but did he say that DMC2 was his favorite game in the series, or his second favorite game in the series?
He said it was at least his second favorite. I could have sworn he said it was his favorite at one point.
I think he did. I think he said favorite at one point too.
He might have said favorite at one point, but I think that he kept on going back and forth on that one, and I forget what the other game was. It 4?
No, it was like he said his favorite of the original trilogy.
Oh,
God,
that's what
he
it was.
really
Okay.
hated.
He really hated 3.
He hated 3 for some reason. I don't even get that.
Because 3 didn't have Lucia in it. It ruined everything.
Can we just wait? Is Lucia mode easy mode because it has less stages?
And
I
the
guess.
gameplay is at least halfway enjoyable compared to Dante's.
Her combos actually work.
I really did not find Lucia any more enjoyable than Dante. I won't say she was worse, but I felt exactly the same playing as them.
In my opinion, what makes Lucia better than Dante in that game is her melee combo.
The thing is,
Right.
her melee combo is, and I hated when Virgil did this also in Devil May Cry 4. I hate it when you press melee attack once and then the character automatically does 2 slashes.
Yeah, I see your point there. That is
I
kind
mean,
of
I like that in fighting. I like that in fighting games. Like I like that in Soul Calibur because it's easier to make combos. But I guess I can see what you mean in the game in a genre like this.
I mean, I think that it's more that he feels like the game is sort of babying
I
him
don't-
in a sense.
And it's more like I don't have as much control. That's one of the things. That's one of the main things that makes an action game easier or harder for me. It's how easy it is to cancel your attacks.
Ah, that's a good point. I'm still kind of confused about... I'm just gonna outright say it. So recently, it came out that Capcom has retconned where Devil May Cry 2 takes place in the series timeline, moving it from the very end to between 1 and 4. So the current timeline, as it stands now, is going to be 3, 1, 2, 4, 5. Whereas in the past, it was always assumed to be, and this was even shown in an art book, 3, 1, 4, 2.
Well, yeah, it's like they directly admitted they were retconning it.
No, but here's my question. If they were just going to go out of their way to retcon it, why didn't they just say, you know what, this didn't happen? What benefit was there to keeping the game in the canon?
Well, remember, you said in the novel that they brought Lucia up again.
Yes,
so I
you're
think
right.
they want to keep Lucia as a character, and the only way to do that is keep Devil May Cry 2 relative.
But they only used her in the. I'm sorry, but they only used her in the prologue novel.
I can only
again, the game isn't out yet, so we don't know if she'll have some sort of capacity in the game somewhere.
Oh, God.
I mean, I would just imagine it was like, I guess making the third game take place before the first game is okay, but I guess flat out erasing the second game is going too far and messing with the numbers.
Okay,
that's almost as bad as taking out Mega Man Legends 3 and pretending like that didn't exist, and then coming out with it afterwards saying, oh well, hey, this is Mega Man Legends 3, even though technically that didn't exist in any timeline anymore.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. I've seen a lot of cases where companies will literally just make certain games non-canon.
And the issue is, how often do they do that with numbered sequels?
Are we allowing Falcom into this discussion?
I am not going to know anything about. I don't. Let's see. I kind of understand the E's numbered sequels, but is this about a different Falcon series?
No, this is about E's.
Did they actually? I mean, did they erase the game or did they remake it and say the remake was canon?
See, they technically did both because, okay, here's my question to you. Does a game count as a remake if they totally change up the storyline? They add elements from another game that was already deemed non-canon. More elements from the non-canon game than the previous canon game. And essentially have, like, barely anything to do with the original canon game.
I mean, I guess if they say it's a remake, they're the ones making the story.
They didn't say it was a remake.
Okay, then why would it count as a remake if they never even said it was?
No, that's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, does it count as a remake if, like, 90% of everything that takes place in the game is totally different? And the majority of the shared elements between the old game and the new game were also present in a game that was always considered non-canonical.
I mean, probably not, although that gives me an idea. Find some way to say that DMC2 is replaced by DMC 2013.
God.
I think the only thing that keeps Democracy active and even close to even talk about is Lucia. Because because Dante's story is literally just completely forgettable in 2.
Well, everything about 2 is very forgettable. But the thing is that, like, couldn't they just... God, I'm trying to think of another area where they tried to do something. Couldn't they just reintroduce Lucia and just be like, okay, 2 never happened, but here's the one thing we wanted to keep from it?
I mean, what I would probably do is I would make a complete and total remake of 2 that only has the very basic story elements. I mean, you could easily add anyone you wanted. You could add Nero and Trish and anyone. Well, not Nero because they retconned it. You could add Trish and Lady, and if Virgil's back in 5, then I guess him, and yeah,
Ooh, you can add V and actually give V an actual origin story.
Well, now V is being introduced in 5, isn't he?
Yeah, but yeah, you could do pretty much whatever you want without. I would just do a full-fledged, complete remake that fixes everything wrong with it and just says, okay, this is what happened in the spot that 2 story was in. That old game isn't real.
I mean, I feel like they could do that, but I feel like it isn't worth making a new game for that. I just sort of make, like, I don't know, like a 30-minute animated short or something. Fuck, I don't care. Just doesn't seem worth it to, like, remake the game itself.
Like
I said, I think the only reason why they should remake it is just to give Lucia a game that's worthy of her.
Just put her in 6 then.
Okay, what if the 2 replacement was made by Ninja Theory? That way we're not taking time away from Itsuno.
Yeah, okay, that would be fine. Although just as an aside, apparently Itsuno has gone on record saying that he originally just wanted to make a DMC Devil May Cry sequel.
Which they could just do, just add. Well, he could, if Devil May Cry 5 sells enough, he can have the money to do that, and just add Lucia to that, and just say, okay, this is DMC2 and DMC2.
No, what I want to happen is even simpler than that. You know how Capcom would like give Microsoft the Dead Rising series as like an exclusive?
Uh-huh.
And you know how they own Ninja Theory now?
Uh-huh.
Bam.
I don't think that they would. Then Microsoft would allow them to do that though.
Why?
Like, oh, here.
Why not?
Oh, we have Devil May Cry, great, but we're not gonna make a multi-plat.
No, Dari, you misunderstand me. Dead Rising was generally half of the Dead Rising games. Half of the mainline ones were Microsoft exclusives for like an entire generation, basically.
Oh yeah, the first one wasn't because of licensing; it was because of weirdness with the engine.
The point is that Capcom often throws the Xbox some kind of a bone, at least since the 360.
Uh-huh.
Dead Rising is hopefully at peace right now. I'm not going to say dead because KI will yell at me. Though honestly, I'm
not really attached enough to the series to yell at you.
Okay, fair enough. My point is that the series is hopefully resting with a bullet in its brain at the bottom of a lake with concrete shoes and chopped into multiple pieces. So, go ahead.
I feel like the issue with that is Microsoft really going to want their Capcom exclusive made by a studio they own to be the sequel to that game everyone hated?
I feel like everyone who says that they hate DMs... I'm getting off topic now. I'm going to save that for later. Let's just get back on track, wrap up DMC2, and move on to KI's favorite game in the series. Devil May Cry 2 is an abomination, and I've heard rumors that it wasn't even originally going to be a Devil May Cry game. That supposedly the story is that they were making some unrelated action game, and the main character was wearing a green trench coat, and some higher up at Capcom looked at that and said, okay, turn that red, and it's a Devil May Cry game.
So, what you're saying is they were trying to make Scalebound way too early, and they said no, and Scalebound died for this again, just to make it Devil May Cry.
No, I'm sure it was Mega Man Legends 3.
But Mega Man never really had a... Well, classic Mega Man did have a green something, but he wouldn't be...
Obviously,
X had a green character.
But
No,
it was
it
a
was-
trench coat.
It was obviously Mega Man from Captain N.
That just reminds me of a sad short story. The MT in MT Framework apparently stood for Mega Man Trigger.
No.
No, I'm serious. Hand to God.
Oh.
Yeah, the moral is
This-
don't let
this-
engines
this
be
people.
named after you. Look what happened to Unreal.
Mm.
Look at what happened to
People like going to a
Foxhound.
tournament.
Or the Fox Engine, or whatever the fuck it was called. Look at that one. That's another example.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that Square doesn't bother naming their engines.
They do.
Oh god, do they?
Yeah.
Well,
Not after series.
True.
either way, so yeah, let's move on to everyone's favorite game in the series except me, Devil May Cry 3.
Yes, this was, as I said, this is basically when character action games, they were evolving all throughout the 6th generation, and this is near the end of it where they like hit their full form.
In my opinion, it is the first Devil May Cry game that really lives up to what the genre should be capable of. I still think it has problems when I'm looking back at it, but for the first time in the series, I'd say that the pros definitively outweigh the cons.
I also think you gave it the highest score ever of something that you were playing for a stream.
That is true. That is true. What was it, like a 9 out of 10 or something?
Yeah.
Like that.
A 9 out of 10. Clearly, truly the gold standard against which all other streamed games shall be judged.
Ironically, your highest stream before that was Earthbound.
Yeah, I did like Earthbound a lot after I played it. I only played the special edition. Dari also only played the special edition, but KI apparently played the original edition before deciding to never look at it again and just went with the special edition.
It was not my favorite Devil May Cry game prior to playing the special edition. It's like the only reason I don't hold it needing a special edition against it is that the very original version was fine. It was the initial Western releases that they altered and messed up.
Man, who would have thought that Blockbuster still had so much power? And what year
Yes,
was
that-
it? 2005.
Yes. Well, it was because this is 1994 and Sega doesn't want the game to be beaten in a rental.
Oh gosh.
No, that's actually he's right. That's
like Contra Hardcore. That's a game where that happened and it came out that exact year.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're playing anyone trying to get into this series, it's not hard to get the special edition. That's what every re-release is. Okay, I don't know why anyone would specifically try to pick up the PS2 version anyway. You can just get the trilogy for almost any system. Hopefully Switch soon so we can make Shell stream it. And all of those are the special edition.
Oh my god. What we should try to do... We should try to make it so that he accepts the entire HD collection as a single game.
Oh god.
And plays
Well, I
in
did
yellow. And plays in
You did.
yellow orb mode.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna be that mean to him. I'm not that evil, but could you imagine? Like, no other game... I loved watching him play through the original Bayonetta because he had so much trouble with it. And then he was like, okay, I'm gonna do Bayonetta 2 as the Alphabet Challenge. And I'm like, but you already know how to play it. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah, and all three of the first Devil May Cry games play fairly differently.
Right. I have to wonder how he's going to react to 2.
Yeah, I don't know what he's gonna do.
Like, will he be like, oh, this is great. I like this. It's kind of a
God.
breather round.
After the first terrain was so very hard. However, me playing this one feels so much better than all the other games I've been playing.
So, Dari, what are your overall thoughts on Devil May Cry 3?
I feel like it lived up to the hype. But again, it was like in the middle between... If 1 was the hardest, 3 was... And 2 was the easiest. 3 was in the middle. Like it had its I guess you can call them well, I wouldn't say they were issues, but I mean, but I have to say the story was good. The character development was great, which I kind of would say the same thing for 1. The character development was pretty good as well in that one.
I mean, that was just introducing you to the characters, obviously.
True.
Also, don't at me, but Virgil has no character. I will never understand the... Is it because everyone who played Devil May Cry 3 was in high school at the time?
Yeah.
Is that why everyone loves Virgil so much? Because I'm looking at him, I'm an adult man, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's so boring.
I mean, it's not being in high school as much as just the time. He was edgy.
Yeah,
it was the mid 2000s. This was like anime characters that acted like that were at their peak. People still liked Shadow for another 6 months or so. DMC3 Virgil showed up at the perfect time.
Why, Virgil? Why did you kill our family? To test my ability.
Oh God.
That's how I feel. I remember someone saying that Virgil is the Sasuke of Devil May Cry, and I'm like, yep, no, that's right. I can't unsee it. He's right.
Yep. And that's extremely sad.
Yes, his full name is Virgil Hiei Vegeta Sasuke Shadow Badass Certain.
He even has the spiky hair that Hiei, Sasuke, and Vegeta all have.
And Shadow.
And Shadow, yes, of course. I will never... I just want to say a couple more things about Devil May Cry. I proved to both of them that they gave Virgil like 2 completely different heads. For when his hair was down and when his hair was up. When his hair was down, they just used Dante's head on his body. But when his hair was up, they changed the face completely. And I don't understand why.
I'm sure there's some reason why it was easier, why they needed to use a different face texture when his hair was down, and they probably just said, okay, let's just use Dante's.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not even that though. Why didn't they just use Dante's face on the new model?
I guess they wanted to make him look somewhat different. I mean, it doesn't technically say they're identical twins.
Yeah, unless his hair is down, in which case, yeah, they look pretty fucking identical to me.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that. I mean, this was a lot. The reason you had to point it out to us was, or to me at least, was this was a lot less noticeable in SD, which, watching the stream, even though you were playing the HD collection, we saw it in SD, and I, of course, had played it in SD on PS2.
Right. Probably on an old CRT, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is that the best addition that Special Edition had to the entire series was the Jester boss fights, bar none.
Oh yeah, Jester boss fights made the game
playing
so
as
great.
Virgil. Forget about the fact that they rebalanced everything properly in the American release. Fighting Jester 3 times was amazing. Especially because they were unable to record new dialogue for him. So they just recycled stuff that he said during the cutscenes in the fight itself, and it was incredible.
Jester's gonna spank your butt, spank you on the butt.
More games need to do stuff like that. Just out of context
anymore,
boss fights.
I don't think it worked like it did for Jester anymore, though. That's the problem with that.
Now you can do it. I mean, all you have to do is make it is, I mean, if a character talks a lot in cutscenes, it would be easy to just find. I mean, Jester actually had. I mean, he had more. I'm pretty sure he has the most dialogue during his fight of any boss in that game. It's not new dialogue, but in sheer quantity, I'm pretty sure it's the most.
Probably right.
I could see. Wait, are we counting all the Virgil fights as separate fights?
Yeah.
Okay, then. Yeah, I could see that then. Yeah, he probably has the most then, in that case. Because if we were just counting all the Virgil fights together, then I'd say that maybe Virgil had the most.
Chaos Control.
To test my ability. Kakarot?
I hate Kuwabara.
Oh god.
Kuwabara's fucking my sister. So wait, and another thing that I think is great is that apparently in the Virgil mode, I never played it. I don't. Dari, did you play it?
What? I played a little bit of Virgil mode.
How far did you make it in there?
Not very. I made it to like the first boss.
Okay, fair enough. Apparently, when you fight Virgil, when you're playing as Virgil, it's still Virgil, but they put him in a red coat.
Oh my god.
I played through Virgil mode like about 10 years ago when I first got Special Edition, so I do not remember enough to personally verify that.
I just remember hearing that somewhere.
Wow.
Let me see if I can look up an image of Virgil in a red coat. Virgil versus Virgil in DMC3. Let's see. Old Virgil versus new Virgil. Virgil. DMC Dante versus DMD Virgil. Man, they do not want to show me Virgil versus Virgil for some reason. Maybe Virgil mirror match? That's gonna bring up Marvel, isn't it? Yeah,
yep.
It did. It brought up a lot of Marvel.
I found it. Devil May Cry 3, Virgil Mission 20. First
Oh, yeah?
Virgil video.
DMC Virgil Mission 20?
It says Mission 20. It says Mission 20 BMD DMD SS no
damage.
No damage.
Why
yeah.
not triple S?
Okay, I found
Yeah,
one. I'm pretty sure there's a picture of it.
And it's a Let's Play, oh god.
Oh, for wearing blue as far as I can tell.
I'm looking at it and Boss Virgil is wearing red.
Oh, this is at the very end of the game. That's why he's wearing red.
Really? At the end of the game? Huh.
Yeah.
What other missions did you fight against Virgil?
7 and 14.
Okay, let's see. 7. Mission 7. Virgil. Here we go. DMD. Come on. Show me. Load up. Stop circling around. Okay, wrong. That's not it. Ah, here we go. No, he has a red coat in 7.
Yeah, he does. I'm looking at it.
And let me check.
Oh, 14. And the way he's fighting is really stupid as hell.
Yeah, no, that goes without saying. Let's see. DMC.
Oh no, it's not Virgil.
Here we go. Come on, game. Just go ahead. 14, you said, right?
Yeah.
Huh. I'm not seeing him in 14.
Okay, it might be 13.
13? Alright.
Are you sure it's 7? Because I don't see him in 7.
No, I saw him in 7.
Sure
He's at
7.
the end. He's at the end of that one. DMC3 HD, Virgil, Mission 13. Wait.
Okay, he's red in 7.
Okay.
Regardless, that I just thought that was like a hilarious little change. They palette swapped him.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, like playing as Virgil, I did not.
That's funny. The prince, I'm coming for you, Vante.
Vante. God.
Over my dead body, Dirgeall.
So yeah, DMC3, good game. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Next we come to my favorite game in the series thus far. Truly an underrated classic that was only affected by what was apparently Capcom didn't even let Itsuno finish the game.
Yeah, that's the issue most people have with it. It feels unfinished.
Devil May Cry 4. I love that game so much.
Starring Nero, Apollo, Raiden, Axel.
Axel, yes. He is the Axel of the game. My favorite character in DMC4 is, of course, Agnes, who is amazing, and I love him, and I'm sad that he died. But I'm glad that he stayed around so long throughout the game. Is anyone still there?
No, I'm there.
Okay, just making sure. Daria, are you still there? Huh.
Sorry.
Daria, are you there?
He's muted.
He's muted. Okay, he must be... Wait, is he muted?
Yeah, he has the mute symbol.
I don't see that on my end.
Oh, what is the mute symbol?
It should be a little circle next to his... Oh wait, yeah, there it is. It pops in and out.
Okay.
Either way, so Devil May Cry 4 introduced us to a brand new protagonist, which everyone hated because that was the style at the time, was hating brand new protagonists, which would eventually cause Capcom to do something much worse in the next game, which made them like them afterwards.
Although their intention was probably that robot chicken sketch.
Oh god. So Nero is the illegitimate... Do we even say illegitimate? How does illegitimacy work? Is it when you have a child with someone you're not married to, but you're married to someone else, or is it just not married in general?
Well, I mean, obviously, Virgil was married to being a badass. Anyway, I have to point this out.
Go ahead.
Virgil, who some might consider a scrappy young character, is literally Dante's nephew. Or not Virgil, Nero.
Nero.
Nero is literally Dante's nephew.
Uncle Dante? Hi, I'm Nero Do. Rero Roo? Yes, and... Sorry, go
Dante
ahead.
opens his pizza box and Nero pops out of it, knocking the pizza away, saying he's Nero Do.
Hey, we're related somehow. I wonder how. I really like holding your brother's sword for some reason. It feels like the father I never had. God. Apparently they wrote novels for most of the games, and apparently the scene in the book where he first gets Yamato, he sees like a spirit guide of Virgil. Okay, apparently Dari's saying that he's having audio issues right now. So he is. So I guess I will just, sort of keep things busy until we can get him back.
Okay.
So anyway, so basically Nero just sees an image of Virgil when he first picks up Yamato, who's just basically like, more power or some shit, and apparently a lot of people like that scene for some reason.
I mean, because Virgil is, like, he's his stand when he goes into Devil Trigger, or
Yeah.
Nello Angelo is.
I'm still kind of confused about the Nello Angelo thing, and I'm not gonna ask you to walk me through it per se, but so I'm not sure if you said this or if I read this somewhere else. So when when Virgil lost to Mundus in the post-credits scene of DMC3, he got split into like 3. His body, his mind, and his soul, or something? Was that you who told me that, or
Well, no,
I read that
that's-
somewhere else?
I mean, that's not what happened. He doesn't lose in the post-credits scene. He challenges Mundus. You just know he's going to lose because of what happens in the first game.
Right. But, like, Where did that come? Did that come from you, or did I read that somewhere else?
I didn't say that. I'm actually not sure what happened. I'm not sure if either he was literally brainwashed and seeing Dante's locket shocked him out of it to some extent, or if he lost to Mundus and then as some kind of honor thing pledged to serve him. So I'm not actually sure whether how much free will he had during Devil May Cry 1.
Yeah, apparently they really had to retcon a lot of stuff in order to get him into Devil May Cry 3 in the first place.
Well, yeah, because Devil May Cry 1 says that he was lost to darkness 20 years ago at the same time as Dante's mother, so him being free and himself in 3 couldn't have worked unless Dante was 40.
Well, maybe half demons age a lot slower.
I mean, that's another thing. I want to know how Sparta died. I mean, it seems like a really big coincidence that after living for thousands of years and settling down, having kids, that he just died of old age a little later.
Wait, do they actually say that he died of old age?
No, but they don't say anything about him dying, just that he's gone. So, I mean, it seems like it would make... I mean, presumably he died... It feels like he should have... They could have just said he died at the same time Eva did, but saying that Dante lost a mother and a brother 20 years ago implies he didn't also lose his father the same day.
I honestly always just sort of assume that Sparta slipped in the bathtub. Oh my god, he'd be killed!
No, oh wait, he was in the bathtub. You see, Dante and Virgil had just been at a friend's house, and that friend's mother had recently gotten divorced and was dating an American gladiator. So Dante got a chair and...
God. But, yeah, I really don't... So, because a lot of people were really down on DMC4 when it first came out. And, up until the point where the reboot happened.
Yeah.
So, since I clearly wasn't, into the series at that point, were there any other reasons that people hated the game besides, Nero not being Dante or taking Dante's place, even though technically he took his place less than...
Oh yeah, it wasn't as much Nero. In fact, people did come around to Nero to some extent. What people didn't like was that Dante's levels were pretty much Nero's levels backwards, especially that so many of the bosses were refought.
See, I kind of
That's what I kind of felt like. Yeah, and for some reason, well, this is really off topic and fourth wall breaking, but I was trying to fix Skype, and now all I hear is Skype's ringing in the background for the test audio, and it won't go away.
That happens to me sometimes. It'll hopefully go away soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying before, I think that Dante was tacked on because I felt like people were probably... I think people really hated Nero for a long time in the beginning when the game first came out, so they added Dante's levels on just so people play the game again.
I mean,
and that's why levels were the way they were.
But the issue with that is, if that happened, then Dante would have his own levels because they just give him some of Nero's. I really doubt they ever would have intended to release it with just Nero and have it be 2/3 the size of DMC3.
Didn't 4 be just like 2?
Oh, no, 2 was Two's problem was that it went on much, much longer than it should have.
Yeah, it is technically, if you're going by number of stages, the longest game in the series as of right now.
Yeah, I actually did find the amount of stages in 5, and yeah, it's still the longest.
Oof, that's not good, but I guess it's not surprising either.
Yeah, I guess not.
But, I mean, I enjoyed playing as Nero more than Dante for some reason. I can't even really explain it. I think it's because his fighting style, because it relies on one set of weapons, it had to be more refined overall, whereas ever since they started giving Dante additional weapons, which was from the first fucking game, you know, they had to come up with multiple movesets for everything. I mean, the guns were easy enough, you know, you just have to change up how they fire, but the melee attacks, it takes a lot of work, and I guess just having one moveset for Nero meant that they were able to put as much effort as they would normally put into Dante's extra stuff into a single moveset, and I think it really worked out pretty well for them.
Right, but the worst part about that is, I feel like for Dante, for the melee attacks, it's like you have to put in a lot more time into the other melee attacks to even try and make them viable. And so you're sitting there most of the time practicing on trash enemies just so you can use, so you can say, oh well, I got this other weapon to work better than the actual sword, and it kind of feels like a dead
horse
try to do anything in the first place, especially in 3, because and the styles as well.
And that's the styles in 3 though are the only thing you have to grind to level up. Everything else you just buy moves for, same as the sword and same as Nero's sword.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying it takes like if you want to use Nevin in 3, that's going to take time to actually learn how to do that and learn how to use it more effectively than the sword.
Well, yeah, Nevin is clearly very unconventional compared to the other weapons. I mean, I always just stay with the sword. I didn't really find Nero's sword to be more refined. I found it to be about the same as Dante's, so I was fine with that because I just used Dante's sword anyway.
I think it's because they gave him the whole Devil Buster thing, which just seemed to sort of expand what could have been done in the first place.
Right, and I like the Devil Buster. I like having like another thing I can do to make the combos go instead of just, oh, I'm slashing. Oh, now I'm shooting. And now I'm slashing some more. And I'm shooting. It's like, oh, I can slash, shoot, and then grab them and do more. And it felt more like a beat 'em up actually.
And if you choose a different style, you actually can give Dante more attacks. It's just I would always choose dodging over that.
Right.
Well, that makes sense, but I guess that just kind of makes it kind of stifles creativity. Where for Dante, whereas with Nero, you're kind of I don't want to say you're forced into it, but I guess the option is there, so you can access it more freely and feel like you're doing more. With Devil May Cry 4.
I think the reason Nero feels better in 4 is that like they added Dante kind of either rushed or at the last minute, and as a result, a lot of enemies are designed around Nero. Like that plant boss is clearly designed around Nero being able to air combo.
Right.
Yeah, that's another thing. Why? What did Devil May Cry have against Dante doing air combos?
I think in 1 it was so broken that they're like, okay, we can't have that.
Oh no, those weren't air combos. That was an air.
That was the
projectile.
Air raid.
Yeah.
That should have been a Super Marvel versus Capcom.
It should have been in 2, but I mean in 2 combos weren't even there. Just like, oh well, look, everything juggles. Woohoo! Everything juggles. So and it's dead already.
Well, I mean,
Before
the
I can even start a combo.
is there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Dante, I mean, I don't know for sure because I never use them, but I imagine that some of his weapons can do air combos, just not the sword.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of annoying because, like, then you use Nero's air combo, and you still have the option to do the downward spike.
Oh yeah, they should add an option for that. I mean, they actually did add an option for that in 2013, so maybe 5 will have one.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, but then people would hate it.
No one's going to remember.
Yeah,
no one remembers anything about 2013 besides the not in a million years. Which reminds me, I want Devil May Cry Generations where they cross over and it turns out the original series takes place 1,000,001 years after 2013.
Oh god.
So that would make Dante into classic Dante, huh?
Yep.
Well, that being said, is there anything else that anyone wants to say about DMC4?
The story again is pretty good until you get to Dante, because this Dante feels like, well, I'm this cowboy who's been here for doing this for years. I'm gonna show him how I'm gonna show Nero how to really do
Nero
this.
fucked up. I'd better go save his ass.
And Trish is like, well, I'm just here because I'm a hottie.
I honestly thought she was hotter in her disguise. I'm kind of angry about that.
Yeah, she kind of was, and I feel like her side to it with that was just kind of stupid. Like, oh, well, I'm double crossing them, but they don't really care.
Well, yeah, because you accidentally gave them what they wanted in the first place anyway, so...
Well, to be fair, Nero, the fact that they took Nero was a major reason they lost. Like, even the villain admits that they should have taken Dante. He would have been stronger in their giant... Oh yeah, that's something I want to talk about from it. This is where Sparta officially became more dangerous to humanity than Mundus. Because Mundus was the villain in the first game. Both the third and fourth game are about a villain trying to get Sparta's power.
I just find it kind of disappointing that Mundus didn't end up having any real relevance in the story overall.
Yeah, I'm still hoping he'll show up in 5 just in some way. I have no idea who that villain guy in the trailer is. He could be connected to Mundus.
Hopefully. And I do like that we finally see Mommy Dearest after all this time.
Well, I think they kind of had to after she ended up appearing in the reboot.
Yeah.
In the reboot, because we did actually get to see her in
Yeah, the reboot also says what happened to Sparta, although I kind of... how they brushed aside... The way they brushed him aside was pretty dumb, though.
Well, I mean, it's like... We can't possibly save him.
Yeah, it's like Virgil just says, it's impossible for us to save him. He's gone forever. We're going to kill the guy who locked him up, but we can't save him. Just forget about him. Pretend he's dead.
I feel like DMC2 could have like gone in that direction. Like where he actually tries to save Sparta.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting, but yeah.
That's not going to happen, I'm afraid.
I mean, the DLC pretty much shows what the main plot of DMC2 would have been if it actually got made.
Oh man, I am still disappointed by that, because that was a fucking cool-ass ending, even though it was, like, animated by a drunk with his hands broken. No, seriously, when you get your hands on DMC, I want you to do Virgil's downfall after you're done with the main story.
Okay.
It's going to be somewhat annoying, but it's only 6 stages, so... You know,
okay.
It's not that bad. Could have been
That's
worse.
true.
Could have been a whole campaign.
True.
But it does legitimately look like... And can we just talk about the special edition of 4 real quick? The new cutscene...
I was going to go back to that. I want to actually know what Tristan Lady mode actually is.
They have no cuts. It's like the Virgil mode in DMC3.
Oh god, it's so stupid.
But
I'm playing as a chick. Woo! Fappa.
I'm just trying to figure, so did Lady take over for Nero and Trish take over for Dante, or vice versa?
I mean, I would feel like... I would assume Trish would sub in for Dante, because...
Yeah,
they were both
together
in the first game.
I mean, that would have been my guess.
They were partners in 4, so that makes sense that Trish would take over for Nero.
Right.
And Lady's just like, oh well, I have rocket launch, kind of a demon arm, right?
I mean, she did have a grappling.
Yeah, she did a grappling hook.
That's another good point, actually. But what they added to Virgil's story is... I've actually seen... I actually looked up a YouTube video with all of the cutscenes, which just basically included all the little, like automatic cinematics that they had in the game, where like doors open and shit.
Yeah.
And the only new bits of story has Virgil walking into the Order City dressed up in a cloak and be like, "Man, that's ridiculous." And then the ending is him walking away. He's like, "Huh, maybe they have a point." And that's it. That's all of the story, except for one thing where we apparently see Virgil macking on Nero's mom. We don't even get to see her face.
Wow.
It's so stupid and horrible.
I can only imagine that she also looked just like Eva.
Oh dear.
God. Well, her face was half covered, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, so that's Devil May Cry 4. So should we move on to the last game before the main event?
Yep.
Okay, Dari, I'm afraid you may have to sit this one out, but feel free to chime in if you have anything to add.
And are you okay with spoilers for it?
I'm not sure, because like literally the one thing I have to go on with this game is a demo.
Okay, so do you want to mute?
Do you want to
mute?
Then we'll tell you when we're done with it.
Yeah, do you want us to just send you a text alert when we're done talking about it?
Yeah.
Okay, just type up when you're muted.
We're gonna do that again. Jesus, talking to Skype.
Yeah, I know, right? Click on the little open conversation button in the bottom left corner. That'll bring up a typing window.
Yeah.
Okay, so just...
I'm trying to figure out how to mute, though. That's the thing.
Well, just mute us in a volume mixer.
Okay.
Turn off the Skype in that.
Okay.
That's what I usually do whenever I need to mute you guys.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. I thought there was a way I thought Skype had a way to do it where I've got Skype.
I wish.
Skype
That's
stupid.
not it's not Discord.
Yeah, it's true. It's not. Oh, I just need to get stupid volume mixer open up.
Okay, so we'll just keep things simple at first while you're getting ready to mute us.
So, after Devil May Cry 4, Capcom started an unfortunate phase where they became very obsessed with having Western companies make their games.
And perhaps the most successful of those games was actually the DMC reboot. Because it actually made Capcom's top sellers list. No one likes to acknowledge that, but it did. It's actually the second best-selling Devil May Cry release.
Unfortunately,
after DMC4.
they had fully adopted Western standards at that point and were still horrifically disappointed by the sales.
Yes, it did not sell the 5 million they wanted it to.
Uh,
So they farmed the game out to a, at that point, little-known British developer by the name of Ninja Theory, who previously worked on Heavenly Sword, which was essentially a God of War knockoff, except with a chick.
and Enslaved, which was like it was kind of Uncharted-like, but you were playing as you were. It was based on Journey to the West.
Yeah, I still kind of want to pick that one up, because I've heard that it's a lot better than people say.
So, Ninja Theory actually wanted to make something more like the Devil May Cry we knew, but Itsuno kept saying he wanted it changed more because I can only assume Inafune was holding a gun to his head.
No, I think that he wanted it to be changed up because apparently, from what I've heard, the thought in Capcom Japan was that the series needed to be refreshed. So, they wanted to be different for the sake of being different.
Yep. And that is how we ended up with the original Dante, who upset people even more than the one in the final game.
Yes, he looked anorexic.
He looked like he was on meth.
He looked kind of like the OG design for Universal's Frankenstein. Which was like this very gaunt, very pale, disheveled-looking abomination with devil horns. I mean, Dante didn't have the devil horns, but the monster did. Although, didn't Dante have like 2 black eyes or something in the artwork? That
I thought these had like big eye shadows or eye bags.
One of those. It was something like that. Regardless, it wasn't a big hit, and it was only made worse with the 1-2 punch of them pointing out that Dante, the original Dante, looked kind of gay. But it was a different, time back then. It was only 2012. We didn't know what we were saying back then.
Yes, and they were talking about how, like, if original Dante walked into a bar, the bartender would say, "Why the long face?" and then he'd get laughed out.
Yeah, no, they showed pictures of Dante in Fight Club and Brokeback Mountain. I think is where the whole gay assessment came from. But apparently what Tamim Antonides was trying to say was that Dante's classic design wouldn't look right in a Western film. I don't know why he decided to,
Yeah, and they tried to turn Dante into a like fad character, basically. Or like, oh yeah, he was cool in the 2000s, but it's a different decade, so we need to reinvent him to look like what the kids want now.
They couldn't have possibly have been more wrong.
This is like that sketch on Robot Chicken I alluded to earlier, where they made the character to make people like Wesley more, only in this case it worked. No one ever complained about Nero after this.
Yeah, it's possible that was Itsuno's plan the whole time. Oh, they want Dante, do they? I'll give them Dante! I'll give them a real Dante!
People also did complain that Devil May Cry 4 was too much like Devil May Cry 3.
Yes, which was another big part of the reason why Capcom decided it was time to depart from the original series.
Yes, and that is... Now, Devil May Cry 2013 was originally going to be a prequel, but after people got murderously angry, they said it actually took place in an alternate universe where Mundus was pronounced Mundus, and it was Berenstein.
The thing is that I actually like the reboot idea, and I still maintain that DMC 2013 is actually the Devil May Cry movie that Capcom wanted to make. But they couldn't get any theater they couldn't get any movie company to sign on to it.
They all said not in a million years.
God. And then, of course, I'm going to be honest with you, DMC 2013 is actually my third favorite game in the series. KI apparently agrees with me on this, so that's not a hot take in here.
I mean, yeah, it's like the gameplay is kind of toned down from 3 and 4, but considering 1 has aging issues, and if anyone says that 2013 is worse than 2, you're full of crap or do not remember 2.
Well, I mean, like I said, I've seen proof that it is probably the latter. They probably don't remember playing 2, because who would want to remember playing 2? I remember playing 2. I remember hating playing 2. But I don't remember hating playing 2 as much as KI did. Because I didn't.
Yes, you are one day, years from now, you will say 2 is better than the first game because you forgot, and I will force you to play it again.
Nah, I don't think I'm going to go that far, although I do still find it ironic that the HD collection gave DMC1 one of the 3 things... Well, fixed one of the 3 things that DMC2 had over it, basically. They standardized the control layout.
As I don't know what... I mean, it was a new genre, but I still don't see how that came across them as, let's make triangle jump.
Because triangle is pointing up, KI, duh. What if that is their logic?
I mean, triangle, when Sony first made the PlayStation controller, each symbol was supposed to mean something in gameplay.
Well, yeah, circle meant yes, cross meant no, square meant map, and triangle meant menu.
Yeah, so... Menu jump somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Devil May Cry 2013 is... It is... The story is it's like it's like the first Devil May Cry. The story is technically bad, but it is very entertaining and funny to watch.
Yeah, I don't understand. I thought that DMC 2013 was absolutely hilarious.
Well, part of the issue is when it was in development, someone, because this game had the worst PR pre-release PR ever, someone's working on it promised the story would be Shakespearean. This, of course, led to videos where they have that quote, then show things such as the fuck you contest and Mundus saying, me, a god, versus you, a piece of shit.
Wait, they didn't use the scene where... Are you telling me that they didn't actually use the scene where,
They probably did. There were lots of these.
Where they shot Mundus's baby mama in the stomach?
Well, that requires too much setup. They probably did use the world is your bitch and so am I scene.
God. The point is that it's like, I think the implication is that I think it's hilarious, but a lot of people would argue that it wasn't meant to be hilarious, to which I have to say that makes it even more funny.
Oh yeah, I mean, anyone can make cheesy dialogue on purpose. You have to either be very good at it or be serious to make it funny. And it's like the social commentary in it was so over the top and just like something anyone could have thought of that was hilarious.
I mean, I think that the entire game is... I think it's way more... It's a... I don't want to call it a guilty pleasure game, but it probably is a guilty pleasure game for me. I enjoy DMC 2013 a lot. And I just don't know why.
It's a competently made action game with an unintentionally hilarious story that people were just very upset that it was replacing Devil May Cry, because that was like the poster child, for like completely played straight character action games. But however, Devil May Cry 2013 is also, in fact, technically the hero that saved Capcom.
That is a good point, because apparently the reaction and the sales of DMC caused Capcom to turn around and just give up on their original concept of westernizing everything. Although by that point, there were too many games that were too far along in development, including Lost Planet 3, Resident Evil, Operation Raccoon City, and Umbrella Corps. Remember those?
Yes, it took about 4 years from when DMC 2013 came out, but Capcom eventually started making games internally again, and Mega Man was saved. That's the important part.
I mean, what I find so interesting about it is that there are cases of Western-developed games that were actually really good, like the Strider reboot. Shit, I really wish that had gotten a sequel.
I think the main issue was the Strider reboot wasn't trying to be a AAA Western game.
Okay, that's a good point. And yes, of course, there was also the Bionic Commando reboot, which I keep on hearing that the game itself isn't actually bad, but the aesthetic and the storyline is just so bad that people cannot...
I mean, I've heard that, that it also has problems, with control, which trying to do the grappling arm in 3D, I don't have a hard time believing that was messed up.
It's a good point. But I mean, like I said, I just think that it's really, really weird that... God. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed DMC 2013. I think originally it was going to be a close one for who got number 2 between DMC3, DMC 2013. But what killed it for me is that while I actually kind of preferred some of the control decisions they made in 2013, including the fact that there's a roll button, and I'm really fucking pissed off that they didn't implement that into 5. I'm really fucking angry about that.
I mean, they did at least give every character has some kind of dodge move.
That's true, but it's just I don't understand the love behind it's jump, lock on, and the direction you want to move on the control stick, but in a very specific order.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really uses that. They just use different ways of dodging.
Fair enough, but why even include it then?
I'm not sure. I mean, it can be useful in very specific circumstances. Like, in the first game, I used it a lot when I was fighting Griffin, because that was such a long-range fight.
Fair enough, but I just think that it's so weird that, they would actually... I mean, why bother? Why bother with it if it's just so,
Okay, so
I guess we should, I guess we should tell Dari to come back in here.
Yep.
Because we're going to move on to the main event. But yeah, DMC5 is due out on Friday. It's Tuesday right now, and I'm still waiting for Capcom to tell me when they're going to do a preload. Yeah, because they did say that they were going to give preload, that they were going to allow PC gamers to preload the game, but we still haven't gotten a timetable on that. Though the game is set to be released on at a specific time. I believe it'll be 11 p.m. on Thursday Central Time, so midnight Eastern.
Yeah.
Which, yeah,
7 o'clock Central, what's that mean?
God. So, I haven't got... Out of the 3 of us, I'm the only one who hasn't really gotten a chance to play the demo that Capcom released, because in all likelihood, they probably left a lot of stuff in there that could have been data mined. So
Yeah, I mean, it has been data mined or leaked somehow by now anyway.
right, but putting that out on PC would have made that like day zero shit. I guess. The point is that DMC5, I think that it looks like it's going to be the best one. A lot of people are really excited for this game, and I can't tell if it's just because it's been so long, especially if you don't count, the 2013 reboot since they've had a new game, or, something else.
And I think a lot of it is that it's been so long, and also that people have faith in Capcom again, because by the time it had been announced, they had done Resident Evil 7 and Monster Hunter World, and Mega Man 11 had been announced, so, that was the big thing for me, but,
Well, Resident Evil 2 apparently is really,
yeah, that's also,
going.
yeah, I meant, before, yeah, that's definitely also helped.
I mean, I just remember when the game was first revealed at E3. And, wait, Dari, are you there? Can you hear us?
Dari?
Dari, can you hear us? Okay, well, I guess not. Well, either way, I'm just going to keep on talking until he gets in. At E3, we were all wondering what it was, and people at first thought it might have been, the DMC reboot, a sequel to the DMC reboot. But it turns out that Nero just looks like Dante now, except with, the white hair, which he had at the end of the game.
Yeah, but no one got that far.
Right, well, most people didn't. And then Devil Trigger started blaring, and that has become a meme, as it were. And I'm honestly really excited about it. I think what really made me excited for Devil May Cry in general was Devil May Cry 5's whole lead-up. Because the Dante we've seen in that game, which is just this crazy hobo uncle now, who looks like an old man, who looks like a boomer at this point, is, by and large, my favorite incarnation of the character.
Let's see, and I remember at the trailer, I was not concentrating on whether it was new or old Nero or Dante or whatever. I was just watching the camera angles, and it was such a huge relief when I saw it had the same type of camera as the previous games.
I mean, I just think that... I think it's interesting that I've gone from not really caring about the series to... I wouldn't call myself, a super fan of any sorts. I mean, I played all of them, and I like... I like more of the series than I don't. But... I don't know. I don't feel like a fan yet for some reason. I think that... once I play DMC5, I'll finally be over that threshold. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's always also when you actually get to play one of the games at the same time as everyone else.
It's a good point, but I mean, it's like, I know that I'm going to be going off topic here. I've recently been getting into Yakuza 0 because it recently, last year it released on PC. And, so I decided I wanted to try to play it before DMC5 came out, and I ended up failing that, but, just because I've been having a lot of fun and I don't really want to finish it. And yet I feel like I'm much more of a Yakuza fan than a DMC fan at this point, even though I'm all caught up on DMC. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I don't know why I feel that way. I like DMC. definitely like it way more than I used to. Like a year ago, total night and day. But I don't feel like I'm a fan.
I put the effort into changing that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Can't hear it.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you can hear us? Good.
Yep.
Dari, what are your thoughts on DMC5?
DMC5 looks amazing. I'm not a fan of the whole, oh, well, the devil arms, the arms on Nero are breakable, and you have to break them to switch them, and I just don't like the mechanic at all.
I have to agree with you on the fact that you have to break them to switch them out. That does seem kind of weird to me.
The fact that his arms are temporary this time around, it's like, what?
I think that's just meant to sort of.
You're supposed to view them like basically as like the items you pick up and beat 'em ups.
Yeah, like he doesn't want to keep those arms anyway, doesn't he? I mean, doesn't he just want to get his real arm back or something?
Yeah, and I'm actually looking for confirmation on this now.
Not 100% sure how that's going to work. Is he just going to be able to like snap it back on into place? Is he like Deadpool or something?
I'm assuming Yamato might have something to do with that. Like, he'll get Yamato, and then I guess his Devil Trigger will let him put his demon arm back on again, maybe?
I actually was looking at some concept art from...
DMC4?
Yeah, from DMC4, and apparently they wanted to give Nero a full-on Devil Trigger, but they also wanted to give Dante like a second form of his Devil Trigger, like a Super Devil Trigger or something. I guess sort of like the Majin Trigger or Majin Devil Trigger in 2.
Okay.
Which that's another question. What like that's one thing about putting DMC2 at the end of the timeline. That would explain why he would have the Majin Devil Trigger, but like if it's ahead of it, then why not?
Right. And I do want to find more about the V, because the V seems interesting to me. Maybe because I like summoners. That's probably why I like him. But and then plus, another character is kind of interesting, I guess, rather than doing the same DMC4 thing again. So that's something.
Yeah, I have to admit, I am also looking forward to... I think that having 3 characters is cool. I'm wondering if... I remember hearing somewhere that certain stages you could choose which character you use, and I'm wondering if that's actually the case.
Well, from what I've... Let's see,
Like, not all the stages, but you have, like, the opportunity to, like, choose between either Dante or Nero, or Nero
yeah,
and
it's
V
apparently, if the leak I'm looking at is right, that's only in a couple stages, but it does happen a few times.
Okay, so that is... Okay, well, that's good then. I mean, I wasn't expecting it throughout, like, most of the game, although that could have been a pretty cool, like, extra thing, but I mean, that would have kind of ruined the way that...
Well, this is also, like, from the leak I'm seeing, it's possible that New Game Plus could let you. It doesn't specifically say it won't.
Right.
But, anyway, yeah, I'm interested in V. I think that his moveset looks pretty cool. He essentially summons people, or summons, like, demons to do his bidding. That's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, why do you think people aren't as angry at V as they were at, like, everyone else? Or at Nero, rather.
I guess because he's more mysterious, and we don't know a lot about him.
Because there wasn't...
And we already mentioned that Dante's in the game, so...
Yeah,
and he's apparently badass, so that's probably part of it, too.
I think it's mainly that we're used to there being more than one playable character, with 4, like, aside from playing as Virgil, who was Dante's literal twin, and in the games people liked, it was like you played the main game as Dante and Dante only until 4.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I wonder if that means that they'll feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Confident in adding more characters to the Ace Attorney. I don't know why. I consider the Ace Attorney and the Devil May Cry series to be like counterparts to one another.
Well, they did both add a new playable character who had more presence than the original in the 4th game.
Well, yeah, and then the following game apparently redeemed them in the eyes of the fan base to some extent. I mean, apparently Apollo didn't get fully redeemed until the 6th game, but I couldn't tell you.
Right.
Like in the 5th game, he's the character given the least focus. In the 6th game, he gets more focus than Phoenix, but it's done well enough that people are happy about it.
So, God, I don't know what else to say at this point. I guess, what's the one thing that, hasn't already been confirmed or deconfirmed that each of you want to see from Devil May Cry 5?
I want Mundus to finally come back.
Okay, Dari, how about you?
I want to see Tristan Lady be something else besides cutscene bait or bosses, since that's pretty much all they've been for all the series up to this point.
I mean, technically they were playable in the special edition of 4.
And 2, don't forget 2.
Oh yeah, that's right. Trish was playable in fucking Bloody Castle mode or something.
Bloody
Apparently,
Palace.
Bloody Palace. That's the other thing. It's like they keep bringing Bloody Palace around, but I feel like no one actually cares about Bloody Palace.
Well, they care about it when it's gone.
I mean, people like it, and people who get really into Devil May Cry has a metagame despite being single player, and people get into that like Bloody Palace.
Yeah, we actually looked
at... The combo system is a huge thing. I understand that, but I mean...
No, Dari, they actually hold competitions to see who can get the highest combos in the Devil May Cry games.
Oh god, Devil May Cry is going to turn into esports.
It already has.
This was they started doing this in 2005.
Yeah, but I mean that's what they're going to add instead of fighting games into Capcom esports. Devil May Cry 5, Bloody Palace esports.
Oh, that would be cool actually. Or if they had a versus mode.
That's DLC they're adding. That's why they're not calling it DLC, because they're just going to make it part of esports.
Well, yeah, they also said that that's the only DLC they have planned, and they aren't planning on doing anything else, and it's free. Yeah. Which I say, good on them for that. That's a.
I guess there's somewhat learning, maybe then.
It's a bold statement, but if they stick to it, then I agree. I mean, they did technically do something like that for the Resident Evil 2 remake, the Ghost Survivors thing. That was free.
But is the old school modes they've been adding been free?
You mean the camera angles
and the costumes?
I don't think. I think cosmetic stuff they're willing to charge for. Which I don't really care about in that regard. I mean, I did end up getting the special edition of DMC5 when I pre-ordered it. Yes, I know I'm a terrible person for that. But the reason I went for it was because of the Mega Buster, but then they recently put out a trailer for the live-action cutscenes that are included, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? This is what I wanted for now. This is what I wanted for now. And I'm half debating on just using that in my main playthrough.
I'm back, sorry.
Welcome back. No, but did you see the trailer the other day that they released with the live action cutscenes?
I did not.
Oh my god, they are great. They are fucking amazing. And I kind of almost want to play the game using those instead of the actual ones. I mean, I'm not going to, but I'm incredibly tempted.
Well, you have the option.
I do have the option. You're right, because I do have the special edition.
Mm.
I just, like, I want to see the story the way that it was meant to be, but I'm, like, looking at these cutscenes and I'm like, oh my god, this is hilarious. I love this.
See, and
What were you gonna say, Ki?
yeah, I was trying to remember. I forgot. Yeah, Devil May Cry 5. I want to see Mundus again. I want. It's like, I mean, it has about the same number of missions as all the other games, but I've heard some people say that the missions are significantly longer, so that would be nice. I generally like longer games.
Well, I remember hearing somewhere that they said that that the game was going to be like 20 hours or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's what I remember hearing. I'm not going to... This I can neither confirm nor deny. That's just what I remember.
Yeah, I saw them saying 15 to 20, although, yeah, I have trouble... It's hard for me to imagine actually happening. I mean, sure, it'll still... I know Devil May Cry games also have a lot of replay, because you have the hard and Dante Must Die modes.
Right, plus Lady Palace.
Right.
Of course. Even if that isn't going to be available at launch.
Yeah, and actually, the only Devil May Cry game that ever launched with Bloody Palace in it was Devil May Cry 2. I think they were afraid to do that.
Right.
I could understand that. Man, even
I bet
DMC
you.
2013 had it as like an update.
Yeah, every game since 2 has had it, but it's always in a special edition or update.
I think, I guess, Bloody Palace... Wasn't they complaining about Bloody Palace in 2? Like it was buggy or something? As well?
I mean, people generally liked it. I think people liked it more than the core game, but that's saying very little.
I mean, it could have just have been that they liked the concept despite the execution.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's my guess on it. Anyway, God, as for me, I guess what I would like to see... Man, it is actually tough for me to say what I'd want to see there. God, I guess... Let me think about it. I'm hoping that Dante is characterized the way that the memes have had him, because it seems like he's gonna be like that, but you never know, right? I just want him to be a wacky cowboy hobo uncle to Nero.
I mean, he was already kind of acting like that in 4.
He was a cowboy?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
he was...
he was. He had a good cowboy little thing going on
yeah,
there.
Yeah, Dari got really obsessed with those things. The little, God, they aren't chaps. What are they called?
Spurs?
I thought spurs were the things that you put on, like, the end of your boot or something.
Oh, no, they go in the, like, heel.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what I'm talking about is that they were, like, shin covers or something?
Huh.
I'm not sure what they were. But anyway, regardless. You get what I mean now. Let's see. Yeah, I guess that's the only thing I can really say that I want. I mean, I'm looking forward to the game. I guess I just don't really have enough... I guess I just want the game, you know, at this point. I can't really think of anything to add.
I mean, we waited long enough.
That's true. I actually did get this for myself with, like, some of my Christmas money, so...
I pre-ordered it in August when Amazon was ending their Prime discount.
I mean, that just makes sense. You were trying to get, like, your hands on as much stuff as they would allow at that point.
Yep.
Right.
Which, I don't think anyone could blame you for that.
Yeah, actually,
I think I pre-ordered this the same time I paid off Kingdom Hearts 3. paid it off about the same time I got Kingdom Hearts 3, I believe. If I remember correctly. I can find out when I pre-ordered it.
Yeah, it's crazy how long that call sound has been going in the background for you. I can actually hear it.
Oh yeah, it's highly annoying now at this point. I'm trying to ignore it, but it's harder than it sounds.
Do.
The worst part is I tried to turn it off, and I tried to turn the test sound again, and just third again, but it's like an echo.
Oh,
so I'm
God.
like, wait, where's it coming from then?
It's coming from inside the chat room.
Yeah. I mean, we've been going for over 2 hours. Should probably start wrapping up anyway.
Yep.
Probably.
Okay, so I guess the best way to finish it off in a boring sense would be let's all do our series ranks before we go. How does that sound?
Okay.
Oh, that
Okay.
does sound boring as hell.
I'll start. I'll start because I have a hot take.
Okay.
4, 3, 2013, 1, 2. KI?
Okay. 3, 4, 2013, 1, 2.
Okay, and Dari, how about you?
Because I haven't played 2013, I'm just gonna say 4, 3, 1, 2.
Oh wow, so we're pretty similar right now. And Capcom, if you somehow manage to stumble upon this podcast, please, for the love of God,
Give us Mega Man X9 already.
well, yeah, but
Christ.
in the meantime, please put DMC Definitive Edition on sale on PSN so that Dari can buy and play it and stream it for us, because we really want to see him do it.
It's like the game's coming out in 3 days, and it hasn't been on sale in like 5 months at this point, I believe.
Really? Not even for Christmas? Huh.
No, for Christmas they only put the PS3 version on sale.
What the hell? Because he doesn't want to pick up a physical copy because he doesn't want to waste the space, which I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he doesn't want to waste having, the disc of DMC in his, PlayStation when he could be doing something else. So just come on. No one. I don't think anyone is going to pay $40 for that game at this point.
No.
Especially when you can get it for like $15 on Amazon.
Right. So,
Right.
come on, just play ball with us here. You get another sale of the game that a lot of people consider a horrible mistake because they don't remember playing DMC2, and we get to watch Dari stream it. It's a win-win here.
They didn't put DMC2 on sale and make everybody play it, so you can get money for that, and didn't make people remember that this game's terrible.
Oh, I don't think they sell it by itself.
Well, not anymore. They don't. They'd have to just do the HD collection. That's another thing that I notice is that every time people bring up the HD collection, they say just play 1 and 3, and you'll be done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it's ever been sold by itself digitally.
I mean, I don't see why they would bother with it. That just seems like a waste of time. I can't think of another game that would be as much of a waste of time releasing on its own besides that. Ys 1.
Street Fighter 1.
Street Fighter 1. That's a good point, actually. Street Fighter 1.
Capcom Fight Evolution. Oh wait, Capcom Fight Evolution is already by itself on.
Yeah, I am surprised that they have. I am surprised that they haven't tried re-releasing that in any way, like even as just like a PS2 classic or something. I'm
Right.
surprised by that.
Same thing with the original Rival Schools, the one with the dating sim.
Well, that one's more of a difficult one because I'd have to like retranslate it for us. Because I
That's just-
fucking want that.
True.
I do. I really do. I really want it.
Oh, whenever was he another Darkstalker? So Darkstalkers 3 coming. The other Darkstalkers game that was 3-2, I believe.
You mean
Vampire
wait.
Saber 2, yeah.
Yeah, Vampire Saber 2 and Vampire Hunter 2.
Yeah. The one that everyone actually wanted, even though the characters that are in those technically don't even matter, but they want them anyway.
Right. Okay, so I guess we can call it. So I'd like to thank my guests, Ki and Dari, for joining me. in this impromptu podcast. And yeah, so this has been Disc 1, and just remember, kids, don't forget to pull my devil trigger.
Yeah.
Bang,
Bang, bang, bang.
Pull my devil trigger.
See you in a million years.
Yeah, you know what? Probably.